Welcome to 100 Days of Python, the Python Code Along Challenge. I'm Bill Mosley, and if you want to find the entire listing of the 100 Days of Python, you can find it at my website, www.bmosley.com/hdp. Let's get started. 62, we're going to pick up where we left off in day 61 with the creation of an object-oriented playlist. And in day 61, we created this class called CLSong. It's got an initialization and string methods, as well as getters and setters. And you can see we demoed that here by creating a instance of that class, printing it out, setting the rating, and then printing it again. So if we run that, you can see here that we can change the rating to a different number of stars, and then that's reflected in the object properties. So picking up from there, what we're going to do is copy all that code into a new file, and we're going to start from there. So now that we have the song class created, I'm just going to minimize that, and we are going to start the collection class, which is called playlist. So I'm going to call that class CL playlist, and that is going to have an initialization. So we're going to create that DEF initialization, and the initialization of that is we're going to create a list called li playlist inside that class, and it's going to be empty. So when we initialize that class, it creates an empty playlist. The next thing we want to do is we want to actually create a method that allows us to add a song. So we're going to add a song, and that is going to take self, and it's going to take a song. And so what we want to do is, first thing we want to do is we want to ask if the song that has been provided to add to that list is actually an instance of a song. And so what we might want to do, though, also is, what we could do is we could say if is instance, and if we say song and then CL song like that, that's if we are passing that song here to the playlist. Now, what I think I'm going to do instead here is I'm going to actually get the data to add that song from the user right here inside this class as one of its methods. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say str title equals input. There we go. What is the title? And then str, what's the next one? We've got rating and artist. So we're going to go r equals input. What is the rating? And again, we want to say between 1 star and 5 stars, just like that. And then str a for artist, input, who is the artist. Okay, maybe those shouldn't be capitalized. Guess it's a matter of preference, but I'll take the capitalization away. And int year equals input. And we're going to say, what is the year. And really quickly, we're going to do some data checking on this. So we're going to say if int year, let's say if length is equal to 4 and int year is a numeric, then we are going to break. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this inside a loop while true. I'm going to trap the user and make sure that they give me a valid year. They cannot move on until they give me a valid year. Else print, we'll start with the line break, years must be 4 digits. Okay, so it'll keep asking until they get it right, and then we will move on, and then we will have an int. I'm going to actually change that to an int here. Int year equals int year. So we're changing it to an int using self-assignment to put it back into that container. And now we have the 4 initialization variables that we need for a CL song. So now we will say li self li playlist we can get rid of the song here because we're not too worried about that. And we need to make sure that that is self there as well. So self.li playlist, now we can append, and we are going to append a CL song. And that CL song is going to have str title, str rating, str artist, and int year. Now, the other thing that we need to check here is the rating. And we've kind of already done the logic for this, so I can do this right here. Here is the check to see if the rating was valid. So I can use that same logic when I'm inputting the rating for the first time. I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it right here beneath the rating. And just like with the year, I'm going to indent that and I'm going to say while true. And instead of str new, I'm going to say str r for the rating. Okay. And then if it's valid, we are just going to break out of the loop. And I'm going to give them a little bit more information. Rating should be 1 to 5 stars. And that should do that. Okay, so there we go. Now we'll make sure that we get those from the user before we append the song to the playlist. And now I've completed my add song method. The next thing I want to do is a list songs method. So we'll say list songs. And so we will, for song in li self dot li playlist print song. And that should work because back up here in the CL song, we've got the string method defined. So let's try this out. So we're going to clear that, and we've got the song in the playlist. What we want to do is create my playlist equals a playlist class, and then let's add a couple of songs. So we'll say my pl.add song, and for now I'm just going to manually call that twice. So we'll copy that, paste it, and then we'll say my pl.list songs. Oops, there's one mistake here. If we just add the parentheses here, then it fixes the error here. That's a good example of how sometimes when you see an error, it may appear here as if something is wrong with this, or even if something is wrong with the add song method. But in reality, the mistake was here. So just a good thing to remember with debugging is that sometimes errors show up in places that aren't necessarily directly related to where they were originated. So let's run this again. And there we go. What is the title? Not feeling super creative today. Okay, so here's my second one. Probably need to do something to differentiate between those two. Maybe not. We'll see what it looks like programmatically later on when we implement this class. Who's the artist? And what is the year? Let's throw the year something it doesn't understand. You can see yours must be 4 digits. I do too many digits, still doesn't work. And then there we go. And you can see it prints them out formatted nicely. So the last part of this is going to be to create a program that structurally will allow us to add songs and manage the playlist. So that is where we're headed in the next lesson. Thank you so much for watching this video and coding along with me. Once again, if you want to access the entire listing of 100 Days of Python, you can do it at my website, www.bmosley.com/HDP. You can also access my book, Introduction to Python Programming for Absolute Beginners, at my website, www.bmosley.com/book. Thanks again, and we'll see you around.